r/AskReddit. Serious, what are some of the creepiest declassified documents made available to the public? There was a declassified Soviet program where the military tried to use rabbits to psychically communicate between submarines. It was based on the premise that a mother rabbit reacts strongly when one of its offspring is killed violently, even if the mother rabbit is miles or hundreds of miles away. The program involved keeping the mother rabbits at a land-based station and killing the baby rabbits in the submarine. Message content was determined by the frequency and the strength of the reaction from the mother rabbit, which was supposedly dependent on the violence of the death. The documents were declassified a while ago, but only translated in 2016. Just adopted a rabbit. This hits close to home. Did you get my message? The NSA and Catalog. It contains a list of capabilities which the NSA and other national security administrations have been in possession of and use for the purpose of cyber surveillance. The document was created in 2008 and was made public in 2013. The technology in this document is incredible and terrifying for the idea of privacy. If you think they don't know everything, they do. These devices are everywhere. Could be in any cable, any computer, any phone, anything. Nightstand. Portable system that wirelessly installs Microsoft Windows. They went too far with this one. Dropout Jeep. A software implant for the Apple iPhone that utilizes modular mission applications to provide specific SIGINT functionality. This functionality includes the ability to remotely push-pull files from the device, SMS retrieval, contact list retrieval, voicemail, geolocation, hot mic, camera capture, cell tower location, etc. Command, control and data exfiltration can occur over SMS messaging or a GPRS data connection. All communications with the implant will be covered and encrypted. 8. Yet they have better access to iPhones than we'll ever get. Don't get that false sense of security that your iPhone data is safe from the government. Memo from Roger Boyce Giuliano. Ring erosion. Months prior to the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, he essentially predicted and forewarned that the rocket O-rings would fail if the shuttle launched in cold weather. Wasn't he blackballed for this or coming public with it? My dad is an engineer and has an article about this in his office as a reminder of his obligation to do the right thing no matter the cost. I think he actually regretted not being more vocal about it because it haunted him the rest of his life. As far as I know, he never hesitated to voice it, and someone who he tried to report this to simply didn't care. The creepiest fact is that even the most horrible declassified files are just small part of the documents that came to light. Too many facts went down the drain. The various times that Nixon almost drunkenly started a nuclear war, but Henry Kissinger refused to act until he was sober. This happened multiple times. We could have been Fallout IRL. Busanasensida.com link. This FBI investigation file titled Animal Mutilation. Back in the 1970s-80s, the media's attention was drawn to some anomalies taking place not only on American cattle farms, but all over the world. Cow corpses were being discovered in fields, missing organs, with surgical holes in their sides, with no blood. For a brief time, this was passed off as a strange coincidence. But eventually, the public got so worked up that the FBI commissioned an investigation. 6 months and $45,000 later, they found nothing. Nothing. No trace of a person, machine, alien, anything. Everyone was left hanging. But strangely, it died down. The reports of animal mutilations have simply stacked up since then, and to this day there have been excess of 10,000. The removal of cow vulvas and bulldogs caused speculation that weirdos were involved. Didn't know dong was a technical term. Or weirdo. Operation Unthinkable. The plan for the UK and US to launch a surprise attack against the USSR at the end of World War II. UK, US, and what was left of Wehrmacht. They literally planned to use just defeated Germans to get the numbers they needed. But keep in mind that the military often has multiple plans for things that are not even remotely likely to happen. So it's more of an analysis of what would happen if we did this than an actual operation plan. Plan Red, for instance, was a plan for war between the US and British Empire. There was also a plan for an invasion of Canada in the early 1900s in case the US sides with Germans. as entering the war on the side of UK-France was by no means a guarantee at the outbreak of World War I. The WikiLeaks documents about PRISM and about the smart device hacking methods along with how to set said devices into a false off mode. Every cell phone without a removable battery could easily may already have this. How about the Filmarillion? There was this user on 4chan called UTV who frequented the sports page and made lots of posts. Just normal posts too. Nothing controversial. Anyway, he had a stalker known as the Archiver who would follow and comment every single post of UTV. After a while UTV would get sick of these comments and he'd tell him to get lost. But the Archiver would just respond to them too. Eventually he started posting his own compilations of the interactions he had with UTV all over the sports page. His final post was him confessing that the people in his life found out about his obsession and he is now being monitored. But before he goes offline he wanted to share his Filmarillion, a 92-page document of everything he had ever made to do with UTV, and he requested that it be for UTV's eyes only. Of course that didn't stop people from opening it. Inside were post compilations of UTV's posts, posts superimposed onto 3D models, extensive poems and sonnets, a detailed description of how their life together would be, and how UTV's funeral would pan out. I'm pretty sure there were real life details about UTV in there as well. Upon release of the document, UTV's only response was, and he contacted the police and went into hiding. Appropriate response to find out someone wrote about their lives together and fact about your life is definitely. That's creepy, especially on 4chan. I always thought that 4chan was a beacon of anonymity. How the government made it illegal to expose the government for the illegal things they have done. When exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you are being ruled by criminals. Edward Snowden. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Operation Lack biological warfare testing done on US cities. Principally, the operation involved spraying large areas with zinc cadmium sulfide which is very toxic. Men who were affected died of cancer and the testing was never followed up on. Most of the neighborhood's genetic makeup was ducked up for no reason and no apologies were made. My mom told me one time she was living in California. They stated they were spraying to get rid of fruit flies gnats. They woke up and all the fish in their tanks were bleeding out their eyes and she also had a miscarriage a week later. That story always stuck with me and made me wonder. What in the ship did I just read? The reason that insane conspiracy theories can so easily take root, because reality can be so much worse. So I was born in the Bay Area of California and was a small child when this spraying took place. I want to say it was in 1981 or 1982. My sister was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2000. At 23 years old, she passed away in 2013 after a very long fight. My father was also diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. His in 2004. He was able to beat his. I absolutely think it has to do with the spraying. It literally took the paint off of our cars. Nasty, nasty stuff. Duck them. Project Pluto is pretty horrific. The proposed use for nuclear-powered ramjets would be to power a cruise missile, called SLAM, for supersonic low-altitude missile. In order to reach ramjet speed, it would be launched from the ground by a cluster of conventional rocket boosters. Once it reached cruising altitude and was far away from populated areas, the nuclear reactor would be made critical. Since nuclear power gave it almost unlimited range, the missile could cruise in circles over the ocean until ordered down to the deck for its supersonic dash to targets in the Soviet Union. The SLAM, as proposed, would carry a payload of many nuclear weapons to be dropped on multiple targets, making the cruise missile into an unmanned bomber. After delivering all its warheads, the missile could then spend weeks flying over populated areas at low altitudes, causing tremendous ground damage with its shockwave and fallout. When it finally lost enough power to fly and crash landed, the engine would have a good chance of spewing deadly radiation for months to come. Double quote. Source. Wikipedia.org link. Damn, that's ducked. The Russians have been developing hypersonic ramjet nuclear missiles, like, right now. I'm not a scientist but they sound like they are pretty much indefensible. The JFK assassination documents never fully being released as they keep getting pushed back. The documents themselves are creepy in the sense of how contradicting they are, but what makes it truly creepy is the full release keeps getting pushed back. They've gotta be hiding something in there. Anything involving Japan's Unit 731 during World War II. It was a military chemical and biological warfare division that experimented on powers. There is a list somewhere on web of the last words of inmates punished by death in Texas. Goodbye, warden. Holy fuck. Some of those statements cut off in the middle. Not hard to guess why. Thank you for using me. That dash on the end is clearly intentional. One ended with it's burning. That one is really ducking haunting. That's crazy. One of the guys was cut off when he tried to explain how he was being persecuted because of a cover-up. He was saying that an officer, whom he had killed, was in a fit of rage before he ran into him, inmate, and that he only killed the officer in self-defense. But the evidence to prove the officer's state of mind was not allowed in court and therefore the jury did not have a fair perspective. They cut him off when he was trying to explain this. None of the other guys were cut off, from what I've read so far. Crazy. Operation Northwoods. Proposed false flag attacks against American civilians targets carried out by the CIA and blamed on Cuba in 1962. Thankfully JFK said duck no and shut that shit down. Apparently, JFK even demoted the guy who proposed this on the spot. Thank God. Also, this means that this idea had to go through a long chain of command with many high-ranking people in the government agreeing to it. This is why many people believe in a 9/11 conspiracy. It surely wasn't the only time a plan of that nature was drafted. I've never been one to push the 9/11 was an inside job conspiracy, but I've met and heard enough people who reject it solely because the government would never do something like that, which is baffling to anyone who knows the least little bit about history. Life is cheap compared to money and power. MKUltra. The CIA performing illegal experiments on Americans to try to develop mind control. MKUltra was never declassified. It was leaked, and the CIA destroyed all documents surrounding it. As all good governments should, just in case. And they let a Canadian doctor molest kids as part of it. I knew some of the stuff that happened, but damn, this is way too much. If I recall correctly, they would let some powerful rich pedos abuse kids, then blackmail them with the pictures to receive funds. Gay bomb. It was a weapon speculated by the USA in the 90s that, when dropped, would release pheromones which would make the enemy attracted to each other. Edit. Spelling. I love the idea that the enemy would just stop fighting a war and get their duck on. I mean, shouldn't we all at least give it a try? Forgive the stupid question. But is there any evidence that something like this could actually work? Is there a good, reliable place to read about this? I'm actually curious. From what I understand, it wouldn't do anything as humans are very much not pheromone based, so at most it would confuse them as to what they got hit with, why there is a strong musky smell from it. Sarge, why does No Man's Land smell like Axe body spray? Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was subjected to grueling, degrading psychological experiments while he was an underage student at Harvard. Wasn't he an MKUltra? The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the African American community. Had to read this in its entirety for a medical ethics class. The whole class was super ducking depressing, but this study was the cherry on top of ducked up situations. The Pentagon Papers. They were fairly creepy back when they came out. What are they about? Thanks for watching, mate. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more high quality content.